Let's take you back to one of our top stories now. And women on social media have slammed members of parliament for using gender-based violence to settle political scores. This comes after ANC MP Boy Mamabolo squared up with his longtime political rival, EFF leader Julius Malema. The hashtag Total Shutdown Movement's Loyiso Saliso joins us by phone tonight. Loyiso, very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. So, just to rehash for those who might have missed it, what we witnessed this afternoon, Boy Mamabolo accusing the EFF leader Julius Malema of abusing his wife. Malema then in turn saying, in fact, it's the ANC leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, who abused his late wife. What went through your mind as you watched all of that unfold?
First of all, I found it very disturbing. It really showcased how disingenuous and as well as sad and really not intentional and genuine the politicians in that house, which is the biggest house in the country, are about the struggle and the crisis that we're facing as women and children in the country, that is GBV. It's also kind of like, it wasn't very much surprising, as sad as it was, because we've always been saying how men will always be, on our side in solidarity and preaching men to stand against gender-based violence. But when they are in their own spaces together, when their egos are at play and their masculinities are in play, they will always then forget they stand. And I mean, like, a typical example is how Julius, when he received the question about him abusing his wife, the first thing he did was react personally and basically go for the President Cyril Ramaphosa. And it just comes to show when he says that I will start with your president, and then I will also speak out about more of you guys who also have these GBV cases. And it just showcased how men actually have each other's backs. Because if Julius knows about other people who are fellow members of parliament who are abusers or rapists or violators, and yet he keeps quiet about these people, he's also an enabler of the crisis that we are actually dealing with. And I think that it's actually a thing within parliament, with the males in parliament, that they have each other's backs and they don't speak out against GBV. It makes us question then how genuine are the leaders that we actually have and are relying on to help us end this crisis in the country. Do we really have male allies? And after watching what happened today, which is very disturbing, and how they dragged President Cyril Ramaphosa's late wife, it really has us feeling like a little bit hopeless, but also seeing visually that we don't have allies, especially male allies in parliament. And we wonder are we really going to end the struggle against gender-based violence in the country.
And Loyiso, the use of allegations of abuse, sexual allegations as well, we know has long tied into the messy world of politics. And even though it's been continuously condemned both in South Africa and elsewhere in the world, it is a recurring theme. So what is it going to take eventually for politicians to understand that we're at a point now where women in particular are simply not going to stand for that sort of behavior?
So one of the demands from the Total Shutdown, one of the 24 demands, is that we demand that it's actually demand number one, which hasn't been entirely met. We asked President Cyril Ramaphosa to ensure that within his own ranks of government, that there aren't any people who have been accused or basically charged for abuse or sexual violation. And we haven't really seen him put his foot down firmly when it comes to that and cleaning up his own ranks. And we all know for a fact that there definitely are those guilty politicians in his ranks. And I think once they take that seriously, that they need to clean up in their own ranks and really cut this whole bro code and having each other's backs. Because one thing for sure is that these comrades all stand, including the president, they all stand and they speak about gender-based violence and they condemn it. But when they're sitting together at the January 8th celebrations, after Parliament, when they're sitting together as members of Parliament males, the things that they do to young girls, and they watch each other violating young girls, using young girls to have sex with for drinks and other stuff, and nobody actually calls it out. And our constant preaching, whether you are a man of power or just somebody who sits around at the corner of the street and who advocates for gender-based violence, is that men need to start calling each other out. And what happened today in Parliament was not men calling each other out, It was just men using women's struggles as a political battle or for political points. It was unnecessary for that to happen. It's really sad that we have to see that happening and unfolding at this time in our country. And it's really just doesn't give us hope. I don't know how they can actually justify this until they take a firm stand themselves as members of parliament, as leaders of this country. I don't see how the ordinary man on the ground, the citizen, will actually take this fight seriously.
And just on that point, because Julius Malema has just today alone repeatedly denied the allegations that he assaulted his wife. The ANC MPs who rose in the House also denying the allegation that President Cyril Ramaphosa beat his now late former wife. But I want to touch on that point that you were making at the end there, how displays such as what we saw in the National Assembly then mirror or trickle down to the behavior that we see in communities and how gender-based violence is treated and regarded there.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, because, I mean, if you're going to stand as a leader of the country and speak against gender-based violence, and yet you go out and you use women's bodies for your political points, and you use women's traumas and lived experiences for your political points, and it really was just a casual thing of a back and forth. And, I mean, if you look at the story as well behind, it may be rumors, we're not sure if it's true or not, but the past week it came out that the member of parliament from the opposition of EFF, of ANC, actually apparently had relations with his wife and so forth. And also when you look at that, it does seem like it's an external, personal agenda. And once again, a woman, which is Julius's wife, is in the middle of this whole thing of male egos, of male masculinities. And it's problematic because that's what we constantly face with in society, where our bodies are always put in the line of war between men. Even in ordinary countries where there's war, soldiers will go in and fight. But what happens is that it's always the woman. It's not enough for them to just fight and battle, but they have to go in and violate women and torture children. So that's basically what was showcased in Parliament, and I think they all ought to be ashamed of what happened in there. And I don't know how they're going to fix this, but also with the little steps that they've been taking in terms of curbing the crisis of gender-based violence, this is really discouraging. We need to strategize again as a movement. How do we radically get back on track and fight this? Because clearly the intention of eliminating GBV in the country is not. We can't rely on those comrades to do that. We just cannot. It's really distasteful.
Loyiso Saliso with the Total Shutdown Movement, thank you so much for your time tonight.